Hi and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 plugins that I'm using in 2025. And these are plugins that I find inspiring for music creation or just inspiring because the user interface is great. Now, before I get into the first plugin, these are not necessarily things that were newly released. They were released maybe over the last 2 years, but they're new to me, and they're ones that I've picked up in the last few months and started using and find great. Now we're back in Studio One for this demo. It's been a little while since I've done Studio One on this channel, but it's like an old friend when you get back into it. And I have started this. I'm going to create a stack in a style that I guess would be kind of ambient or lo-fi. And I'm starting with this loop, which is from Lander the Aries pack, which is something I just recently found and thought was pretty cool. And so I wanted to start with something really simple. So here's just a piano loop. So the first plugin we're going to take a look at is Crystalline by Baby Audio. This reverb is probably a reverb that you could use as the only reverb that you use. I think it is so cool. It sounds beautiful as soon as you turn it on, and it's deep, but the user interface is really simple. But anyway, let's just listen to it. Besides the fact that it sounds great, my favorite feature on this, and just about any delay or time delay plugin, is it has this ducker. That means that it will monitor the input and actually turn down the reverb, allowing you to use longer and more dense reverbs without smearing the sound. So this is one of my favorite aspects of this. And if I turn that ducker down, then I'll manipulate it while I'm playing it back. And maybe you can hear the effect, but maybe you can't. But in mixing, it really makes a lot of sense. So it allows the notes to come through and then that beautiful reverb to build up behind it. Now, what Crystalline offers is a really interesting user interface. Most of these controls, like size, you just scroll up and down over these, and then graphically it will show you like different sizes of reverbs here. It has sparkle, which is the high end, and it has width, which you can control with this, all the way from this, which would be mono. And then graphically, it's just really cool how they've done this. It gets wider and wider until it separates out like this. And if you wonder what any of these controls do, this control right here turns help on and off. With that on, then you get a little help message down here as you hover over things. So you can see that this says, makes reverb space go from mono to wide to extra wide. So we're in extra wide mode right now. And it has, this is a pre-delay, which you can either dial in milliseconds. So if you want something like a 90 millisecond pre-delay, you can do it like this, or you can do pre-delay in some sort of a musical function, in this case 1/16. You could do the same thing with end. So you can do all kinds of cool things with this, and you can sync these to the project tempo. You have damping to control the overall tonality. Basically, you can see you've got a high pass filter and a low pass filter on this interesting pie slice, pizza looking thing. And you can control the EQ of the sides. And then there's a gate built in. It's got a shimmer, which is also really nice. Look at this. It's got the density of the shimmer on the top line here, and then it's got the fidelity of it on the bottom line. So if you want kind of a lo-fi shimmer, but a lot of it, just turn this on. You can modulate the reverb here, and you can choose between different algorithms to the most dense and pristine algorithm right here. So that's Crystalline by Baby Audio. Now the next track I'm going to enable here is a drone. This is also from the Lander Aries pack. That gives you this sound. And that goes along very nicely with this other sound. And this is the Eternal Arps and is from Pitch Innovations. And I discovered this late last year, or maybe it was around Black Friday or something like this. This is not an expensive plugin, but it is infinitely inspiring. So from this screen, you can do one note chord arpeggios depending on the mode you're in, but that's not what I'm doing here. I've actually taken the same chords that are in this loop and just put them in as MIDI notes. And so I'm playing that in. And if you do it that way, then in the ARP engine section here, you're going to choose live. That will just arpeggiate the chords coming in. So let's listen to this. So what I'm going to do is just go to a different preset here. We're on synths, we could do harps. So that's just one example. I'll do a couple of these patterns. So when you load up a preset, you've got 5 patterns. This is the pattern that's playing, and then you could click on these and you'll see it gives you different arpeggiated patterns, or you can hit this, which will randomize it. Now, if we want to see how that works with our pattern here, or with our loop, see, it already sounds beautiful, and I've only tried just this one thing. So in Studio One, when I find something that I like in MIDI using this Eternal Arps, I like to just render it to audio. You do that using Command B to bounce in Studio One. And so now we have stereo audio for that exact same thing. I'm going to select the mute tool and mute this one, unmute the original, and let's try to find something else. That sounds more cinematic. Let's go back to, let's try this Santur. I think that's really interesting, but I'm going to go back to synths. We'll try these triplet patterns. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So I'm going to keep that. I'll do a Command B on that and render that to another example that I can use. If I expand this down, you can see that's a stereo track. This is a feature. I think it's something new in version 7 where a stereo audio track will show only the top line. So you can see the waveform better if you have the track height lower. So now we have that to work with. Or I'll use the mute tool, which is 6 here, and play the other one. So really cool. So you can understand how you can use those elements to help build out an arrangement. And Eternal Arps, very inspiring, and you can find really easily inspiring options to add something to your productions. So we're going to move on from that, and the next one, I brought in this splice loop. The way I found this is by just dragging this loop into the new splice feature in Studio One 7, and it recommended this loop, and so I just stuck it in here. And I think that's cool. It's a little bit, you know, that tension that's common in lo-fi, where it's just a little bit of kind of back and forth between the loop and the beat, and I like that a lot. So with that, we're going to go on to the next plugin that we're going to look at, and that is Lunacy Cube. So here's Cube. Cube has this really interesting user interface, and let's just listen to a little bit of it. So that's an example. Let's go back to the very first one in the Astra sound pack. So this is continuing to go on for quite a long time, even though I'm not playing anything. Cube is also being driven by the same chords that are the chords that are derived from this loop. And it gives you just some amazing movement based on this morphing pattern. This thing here is morphing around between the different sounds. And you can have up to 8 different samples loaded in here. And then you can do quite a bit per sample. But Cube will then morph between all of those different samples using that orbit feature. So if you look at this is the most interesting feature, and you can enable different orbit motions here. You can control them where it goes over 4 bars like this or longer. So if we play it, you'll hear that this moves much more slowly. So it's wonderful for ambient types of sounds, but it does all kinds of things. This is the Astra pack, which has recently come out with. I'll show you a few other options here on this. think this is just really cool. You can do things experimentally here and just find things that work. You've got these controls. This one is labeled ether, and it says it controls the fade between dynamics. And here we have faster or slower orbit motion for this one. You can see it's got this kind of really irregular pattern in there. And then you have this macro on most of these presets that does different things. You saw earlier when I was working with one, it expanded out the orbit, making it more dynamic, or pulling it in where there's less variation. And then you've got this convenient filter right here on the front. So without getting into a lot more detail on this, there are a lot of sound packs that you can buy for this that have different kinds of samples, basically, that build up those presets in all these different themes. This is the Astra. I don't have the other ones. You can also just drop your own samples in, and it's just a very inspiring tool. So that's Cube from Lunacy. Next, I have Excellent Audio Life. Here is the user interface for Life. Now you can use a companion app on your phone and sample in all kinds of live samples of anything around you, and then it will chop it up into a loop like this. One of the key ideas with Life is to encourage you to go out and sample things around you. Now, it's a very deep kind of sampler that will chop up any kind of audio that you put into it. You can put in any sample into it, but it has a companion app. And if you go in here and you go to User, it will load things off of your phone. Now, here is one I called Closet Sounds. So I literally went into my closet. There is a little battery-powered drill in there. My guitar was on my acoustic guitar was on a stand nearby, and I just rattled around some coat hangers, the drill, and the thing, and this is what we got. And so we're going to take that and say, okay, let's use that as our sound source, Closet Sounds. We'll randomize it here with the dice, and let's play it back. And it already sounds really cool, but you can then randomize it. You can manually choose the pieces that you want to use, or you could say, I like this slice, or I don't want to use this slice at all, things like that. And let's just randomize it again, and then I'll hit play. So I like this one, I'll keep it. Now, one of the things that's happening here is you have a kick sample that you can add to it. And so if you click kick, then you can put in the kick. There's some different sounds here. Now you have sound variation here, and you have a pattern variation. And so here are your patterns, and you can add additional patterns. I don't know if that'll work, but I like the sound of that. So I'll go back to sync here, and then let's play this in the context with the other things we already have. So far we've looked at Crystalline, the really cool reverb. We've got Eternal Arps from Pitch Innovations, Cube, and Excellent Audio Life. And then one more that I don't want to leave out is the new FabFilter. And this is the plugin Pro Q4. And so here I've actually played in my own guitar part here. I show the MXR Rockman X100 pedal in a video a couple of weeks ago, and this is just a clean part, just finger-picked on an electric guitar, played in using that clean one setting on there. And it's got a little bit of extra brightness to it. I wanted to shape that a little bit, and the perfect tool for that is FabFilter Pro Q. This is an all-in-one EQ plugin that you could use for anything. But the reason I included it is that it's just not that difficult to use despite being extremely powerful. It's got an amazingly designed user interface. It's been that way for some time, but Pro Q4 just takes it to the next level. So I had a little resonance that I took out here with a little bit of a dynamic EQ. Let me go into Excellent Life. So the point of this was to take out that there's a little bright ringiness in there that just annoyed me a little bit. And so this is perfect for taking out those problem frequencies. And then there's also just sitting here waiting. If I want to take the top end of it off and make it more lo-fi, I've added a band here that is using the high cut shape, which is easily set there or here. And if I just turn this band on, you just turn it on and off with this little thing here. You can see it's set to a high cut. And then you could adjust the frequency and make that more or less lo-fi. Well, that's a starting point to building up a stack of elements that you could use for an arrangement. And it's a demonstration of 5 plugins that I've been using in 2025 that I find inspiring and things you might want to check out yourself. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video very soon.